Welcome back to the Phoned Out YouTube channel. We're glad to have you here. Hope you're happy to be here. Now, Beeple is the artist behind the most expensive NFT to have ever been sold on the internet. This image is not just a normal image, it's not your normal digital art, it's 5,000 individual images combined together to make one supreme super image. And this is why it's the most expensive NFT ever sold. And not only does this super image look nice by itself, but if you look inside and you study each individual image that makes up this massive 5,000 image, you're going to come across a lot of crazy stuff. And each image has its own crazy story, its own philosophy, its own relativity, and it's definitely something everyone needs to look into. You know, if you're alive in today's day and time, if you've got children, whatever your situation is, you need to go in the link in the description, check out Beeple's website and have a look at this artwork. I don't get promoted for this. I don't know Beeple. I don't get paid by Beeple. I barely got any subscribers, but you know, but this is extremely relevant. These images are going to be even more famous in the future than they are now. As you know, it's the most expensive NFT ever sold. And let's get into today's episode. Today's episode is called Golden Ape Hunt. So I'm going to put the image on the screen. As you can see, this image is titled Golden Ape Hunt. Now off back, what can we see from this image? We can see a moon, we can see the sky, we can see, and the moon looks massive, by the way. The moon looks even bigger than the sun should be in the sky. We've got two massive gorillas and they both seem to have golden masks. There's gold being laid out across the ground, and there is an army soldier with a gun facing these two massive gorillas. Now, how do we go about interpreting this? What is this image attempting to convey? Now, as I said, every single Beeple image is kind of a form of personification, you know? You don't take the images literally, you try to interpret them for what they mean. They have a deeper meaning that relates to people. You know, the word Beeple sounds like the word people. Every Beeple image has something to do with people, something to do with us humans, you know? So I don't just want to cover these images in their literal sense and talk about, hey, the gradient used here, this and that. I want to talk about as in, what is it meaning? What's the meaning of this image? What's the deeper meaning behind this image? So we've got a soldier with a gun, we've got gold everywhere, and we've got these two gorillas with gold masks. Now, I don't know how to say this, and I don't want to come off as racist, but what I immediately think of is the colonization of African nations, because, you know, there's a lot of gold in these places, there's a lot of natural resources, which is a reason why Africa was colonized in so many areas. It's the same with India, it's the same with a lot of South American nations, you know. These particular places were known for having valuable minerals, being abundant in minerals such as gold, silver, jewels, and all types of precious materials and commodities. And, you know, we've got these two massive gorillas. I'm not saying, you know, black people are like, you know, saying like apes or gorillas, which is a racist connotation associated with black people. But from the mind of a racist, from the mind of someone who dislikes black people, or, you know, basically the mind of a racist person, they will try to look at black people in the most derogatory way, as in comparing them to apes, comparing them to monkeys, comparing them to animals, you know, referring to them as slaves, you know. Someone who's truly racist, who truly has a resentment against people with a different skin color, will look upon them in the most derogatory fashion. you know. So again, this guy, he's dressed out in an all army outfit, he's got a massive gun, the guy who's facing these gorillas. So he looks at these he's gone to this African nation and he's looked at these two, you know, big guys, these big black guys, and the way he's looking at them is gorillas with gold masks. He's trying to take that gold mask off of these gorillas, you know. He's trying to take I guess the face represents the honor. He's trying to take the honor of these black individuals. And you know, African nations are known for having gold. I know Arab nations are known for having gold, but African nations are also very popular for having large amounts of gold, which is another reason why it makes me think of Africa. And next to the gold, there's a lot of dead skulls. There is a lot of skulls surrounding this gold, which is to show that people have come to the past, to whatever land this is. People have come to these lands, they've tried to steal the gold, and they've been executed, they've been killed for it. You get me? So whoever's nation this is, they don't play about. But yeah, I think what this represents is the colonization of Africa, stealing gold from Africa, and how the colonizer, the racist colonizer, would be perceiving the African people which he's colonizing, perceiving them in a derogatory manner, a completely disrespectful manner. And you know, he's after the mask, he's after the honor, he's trying to take the honor off of these individuals. It's a, you know, a deeper type of hatred. And if you look at this gorilla who's a bit bigger, you can see that he has massive eyes, you know, massive eyes. So, you know, just interpret that how you want, figure out what that means. You know, as I said, we're looking at it from the perspective of the racist colonizer, looking at, you know, these individuals who obviously represent big black people. You know, these Beeple images, they have no filter. Anything which is prevalent in society, anything which is commonplace in society, anything which is something which need to be discussed, it will be depicted in one way or another throughout this image. And in today's day and age, one of the biggest problems when it comes to black people, especially here in the Western lands, such as the UK, the USA, Canada, is that they undergo a lot of racism and a lot of stereotypes. I think it's across Europe as well. But a lot of these racist stereotypes, you know, stem from days of colonization and days of conquest, where, you know, not everything was as sugar coated as it is today. There was straight up wars, you know, there was straight up wars, straight up bloodshed, straight up animosity, and, you know, rivalries between enemies was a lot more real. It's not like today where you can hate someone, but, you know, you have to mind what you say, and you have to, you know what I'm saying, you can't just be open about your hatred towards people. Back in the days, people were open about their hatred, and, you know, emotions were a lot more clear and a lot more visible than they are today. Nowadays we have the cameras everywhere, you know, people have to watch what they say, watch how they act in front of people. You know, racists can't be racist like they used to, because now we've got cameras, you can record them being racist. That video will probably blow up and they'll get in some real serious legal issues. So this is makes me think of, like, yeah, as I said, man, I don't mean to be racist, I don't mean to offend anyone by saying this, but I think this image is trying to show the colonization of Africa for African resources, and how these big bodied black males look from the perspective of a colonizer who views them in a derogatory manner, but also acknowledges they have something golden about them, they have some sort of honor about them, which, you know, the soldier intends to take from them. You know, I've heard stories about a lot of African villages and nations who they were living in harmony, they had no real problems in society, people were healthy, people were provided for, they had enough food, enough water, and they were living completely fine. And then next thing you know, they've been colonized, things have been taken from them, now they're dealing with famine, They're dealing with a lack of water or contaminated water. They're dealing with people dying, and it's happened as a result of some sort of colonization, some sort of army invasion, some sort of selfish plot to obtain money from the land, which completely disregards human life and human affairs. It's happened to a lot of African communities, more than I could probably name, where they were living completely fine, they were at bliss, till someone from another nation decided to come along and just invade and just harass them and just make changes to them. And it's usually always for the worse. I think there's very few circumstances where I can say a certain part of India or a certain part of Africa has been invaded and situations have improved after the people have been shaken up and intimidated and forced to change their values. And as I said, man, Beeple covers everything, and racism being a massive topic in today's society, the roots of it, and especially to do with the wars and to do with commodities. I think this is exactly what this image is trying to show. Now, what I want to finally address before we put an end to this video is, why is the moon so massive? Why does the moon look so massive in this image? And what's also quite interesting is that this image looks like daytime. This doesn't look like a nighttime image. As you can see, the sky behind the moon is light blue, meaning this is daytime. However, the moon is looking absolutely massive. So and that makes me think of people of the night. But anyways, we're going to leave that there. I think we've explored this image enough. I think we've got the general meaning of what it's trying to show. And as I said, man, don't blame me, blame Beeple. Beeple, if it's a prevalent issue in society, if it's really going on, if it's really happening, there's some sort of Beeple images which will address it. Think of any problem. Let me just think of any random problem right now. Let's say domestic abuse. Domestic abuse, which is usually, if you picture a man hitting his wife, a man hitting his wife, assaulting his wife, mistreating her, showing narcissistic behavior. That's a common problem. I guarantee you there is many Beeple images out there which will reference domestic abuse in some sort of way. Another one is religious tensions. Let's say Christians and Muslims arguing with each other and spreading hate towards each other. There will be at least one or two Beeple images showing that type of agitation and where it's coming from. So any commonplace issue in society, any prevalent thing, there's 5,000 of these flipping images. You're bound to find one of these images which really addresses it and really kind of explores how this problem came to be, and it makes you consider things you wouldn't really consider, and just reinforces a lot of your knowledge about the world. Anyways, let me stop waffling. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you noticed anything which I did not notice, please leave a comment down below. And I think this picture right here is a very, very deep one. It's a very deep one, and some will understand it better than others. Leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and stay tuned in for next time.